Teen Motivation and Learning by Nikki Tibbetts, EDU 6050. My name is Nikki and I'm a teacher in North Carolina. The last 4 years I've worked in a wonderful high school with amazing coworkers and even better young adults. Although I love what I do and am passionate about my career, I've decided that it is time for me to pursue a different career, one in higher education. Because I'm not working in higher education quite yet, my focus for this presentation is going to be about my high school students. With my experience of teaching face-to-face English for 4 years and teaching online English for 3.5 years, I see how students struggle, where their motivation lies, and what holds them back. My motivation on addressing this issue is to help find ways in which students can be engaged in all platforms of learning. The more a student is engaged, the more likely it appears he or she will be successful. It's important to know what motivation is in order to determine how it can be improved. So according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, I took 3 different pieces of what the actual definition of motivation is. One of them being the act or process of giving someone a reason for doing something, the act or process of motivating someone. The condition of being eager to act or work, the condition of being motivated, and a force or influence that causes someone to do something. So stemming from that definition, teachers can sometimes be the force that drives and motivates students. Parents and friends can also be that force, and students need to find the force within themselves and a reason in order to be truly motivated. Oftentimes, educators feel it is their duty to be the force that motivates students. If a student isn't motivated, we are to encourage them to keep going in a world where they are set up to be slightly unsuccessful, such as the standardized tests that are in North Carolina. Teacher motivation. Sometimes teachers, and lately teachers, are finding less motivation within their careers due to lack of resources, teacher morale and budget cuts, and then day-to-day distractions of teens. So our job, and part of the reason I wanted to research this topic, is there's a need to find a way, or to help students find a reason for doing something. They need to be the ones to discover it and not have it be forced on them from their teachers and parents. So kind of a description of the controversy and things that I hear day to day, and the reason I wanted to continue on this is it's said that students are getting quote unquote worse and worse. They don't want to do anything and they're unmotivated, but that can be a misconception that motivation is a one-size-fits-all rah-rah mentality. By giving more encouragement and telling students that they can do it, it's a misconception that they will just be more motivated and go out and do it. There are a lot of things that are said within my school about students and their motivation. Parents make comments, teachers make comments to each other, and students will sometimes make comments about other students that they see in class that are lacking motivation. It's a rising issue, but we will continue here on what are some of the reasons why that happens. So according to Bumgarner, thus the key is not to try and get your teenager motivated, but to instead do something different to try and get him or her to perform. So when something is not working, instead of giving the same tests and overwhelming teens with continuously telling them they need to study and be prepared for their final exams, we need to work towards a positive solution that produces a different result. This is a picture of one of our blended learning classrooms. At my high school, our students are given one-to-one with MacBooks, and they're able to use these MacBooks to help with their learning and to add to it. We use these to post work on our Haiku, which is a LMS, a learning management system. So students keep everything basically on the computer. We use it partly for our blended learning environment and partly to for students to be able to access all of their work. We typically don't use textbooks or novels anymore. Everything is PDF based and on the computer, so that we do have unlimited resources basically in that aspect, which is a very positive experience. Sometimes students in North Carolina are being overwhelmed by some of these tasks, which is said that you don't want to overwhelm teens. Otherwise, they can start to lose that motivation. But in North Carolina, students focus 25% of their final grade to an end of the course test, an EOC or an MSL test, and that can be overwhelming to a lot of students, especially those who are not the best test takers. So according to Bumgarner again, bad feelings and unpleasant experiences tend to immobilize teenagers rather than spur them into action. This is particularly true if a teenager is discouraged, overwhelmed, or otherwise in a negative state of mind. Thus, the efforts of parents who punish their underperforming teenagers often produce the opposite result than the parents had intended, which can be true for teachers and educators and those working in schools where asking students to take an exam with 25% of their final grade is doing just that. Students are having these bad feelings and unpleasant experiences, and instead of having that encourage them to do better, a lot of them shut down. So although these tests aren't a punishment per se, it's a large part of what a student works towards throughout the year. It's also a lot of pressure on students to do well in order to keep their class average. According to Kordacki, each individual's behavior is also shaped by their motivation for involvement in any specific task. Specifically, it has been claimed that certain behavior is valued either because of the need to meet intrinsic or extrinsic goals, or because the task has some perceived significance. Extrinsic motivation focuses on external rewards, while intrinsic motivation may stem from personal goal derived from an interest in the course area. It's important to help students find a reason to meet these goals or find a meaning or significance to the task at hand. So do students want to improve their grade? Do they want to be prepared for this test? Or do they want to learn something new? Helping them find that reason or make these goals is important to reach an end result, because likely the final test, the 25% of their overall grade, is probably not going to go away. According to Patterson in an interview with Michael Horn, we don't think there is a student motivational problem. Students are plenty motivated to make progress and feel successful in their lives and to have fun with their friends. The problem is that teachers want to give students the experiences of making progress and having fun, but the system is not set up to do either of those jobs well. It's often built to fail students. So in North Carolina, again, students are required to take those end-of-course tests, which determine a large portion of their grade. A large portion of class time is used to get these students prepared to take these finals, because obviously teachers don't want students to do poorly, and it has been suggested that these end-of-course tests will be a reflection on a teacher's performance. Students are not motivated to review, study, or participate in these exams, nor are they interested in continuously practicing. A lot of times teachers will have students practice quite a few times, sometimes weekly and throughout the entire semester. They're set up to not do well unless they're motivated to learn additionally on their own time. A fear is that teacher-written exams will not determine if students meet the requirement for each course, but the material within those exams is generally more engaging and interesting than state tests. It's important for educators to find ways in which to support student needs. Unfortunately, resources need to be provided in order to meet these needs, but with budget cuts, resources are hard to come by, which is definitely another controversy or topic at hand, so I won't go into that. But according to Patterson, we really need to do a much better job of hitting the intrinsic motivation within students to be successful. School is something that is competing with video games and lots of other such options. We have to understand that we are competing for students' time. We know even with adults, it's hard to have complete focus all the time, so it's always a competition with teens and everything going on in their lives to have them find that motivation and those internal goals, and providing them with something as difficult as a final exam with 25% of their grade overwhelms students, and sometimes that's where we lose that motivation. So what else is needed? Aside from students being motivated to learn, teachers play a large role in how interested students are in learning the materials. It's important for educators to be passionate about their subject and expertise in order to encourage students to do the same. So it's hard to encourage my students to be passionate about English and reading and the novels that we're about to start if I'm not up there passionate about what I'm going to do. According to Kordacki, teachers' beliefs and conceptions about the epistemological nature of the subject they teach and its appropriate curricula would appear to affect their teaching practices. As regards computing, it has been viewed as a way of thinking rather than a typical school subject. In an article I read about computing teachers, they viewed it more as a way that students think. They come into a class and it's kind of like a lifestyle instead of just a class and a subject that they go to each day. So a possible fix, there are a lot of factors aside from getting teachers on board that help to influence the way in which students are motivated to learn and retain information. Sometimes students at my school will use social network sites as a negative and a way to distract themselves from learning, such as Facebook and Twitter. If students were provided with a tool like Spell-Landsy Shout in order to communicate with their classmates about educational and school-related topics, engagement would be up and motivation to continue doing school-related activities would be up as well. So according to the article I read from Tomai talking about Spell-Landsy Shout, which is an online learning community, they stated that online social network tools may be of particular utility for individuals who otherwise have difficulties forming and maintaining both strong and weak ties. Some research has shown, for example, that the internet might help individuals with low psychological well-being due to a few ties to friends and neighbors, to motivate shy and introverted adolescents with few social skills to open up more online and find new friends. So having an online learning community such as this that would bring a positive aspect to students, it might encourage and motivate them to communicate with their peers through this online platform instead of negatively or as a distraction as they do with Facebook and Twitter. So my final thoughts, students are on a road to improvement, and with the ever-changing world of technology, students and their educators are always trying to keep up. The purpose of motivating students isn't so teachers look better or are unfair to their students. It's a way to push them to be the best that they possibly can. Teachers see potential in their students that they might not necessarily see in themselves. In the interview with Michael Horn by Patterson, Horn said, "It shouldn't be about mastering the game, it should be about bettering yourself, and there are far better ways to do that for everyone." Meaning, don't master the easy way out, motivate yourself to do the best that you can.